Yo, what's going on, guys? Yeah, apologies if this messed you guys up coming over here on YouTube rather than Twitch. Kind of annoying. There was like an update on Streamlabs, so I don't know what happened, but at least we're here. We'll do this for a little bit. Then I'll get over to the private stream. But if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to ask. Trying to get as many questions answered as we can. What's going on, Keekster? Matthew? Make it rain, Soto? What's going on, Alan? Murray or Mills? I'll take Murray there. So I think that Murray is like an amazing buy low candidate just because on the season he's averaging 1.17 fantasy points per minute. Now, obviously, Derek White, it really doesn't have anything to do with it because he's on a hard limit of it seems 24 minutes. He hit 25 minutes, but that might have just been like an accident. And we've heard Pop say previously that if they're going to ever let him go over 24 minutes, he's like, well, if we let him go over 24 minutes, and obviously it's not a limit. So it's pretty hard limit at 24 minutes. So I wouldn't expect any more than that. But at 5.2K on DraftKings, I definitely think that's interesting. Against a Washington team who is tied for dead last in the league in terms of defensive rating at 114.4. A pace-up game for the Spurs as well. And if there's ever a game that they take him off the limit, maybe it's today with no Derek White. Dredgick Feinstein, I think he's all right. I think he's all right with no Justice Winslow. Murray or Burks on DK? I'll probably go with Burks there. I think that regardless of the outcome of that Golden State game, I think Burks is going to have to play 30-plus minutes. So that's like 6 more minutes than Jamal Murray. Yeah, I would prefer Rozier to Dragic. What's going on, Chase? Murray cash viable at that price or no? Yeah, I think he's fine. I think he's fine for cash. I slightly prefer Alec Burks to him. I'm coming more onto a guy like DeLon Wright at this moment at 4K. I prefer him to the value guys in San Antonio. So we know that Seth Curry is going to be out. If you look at Popcorn Machine, I wish I was on Twitch so I could show you guys this, but they're pretty interchangeable. Whenever Curry comes off the court, still on right, and vice versa. So Seth Curry, we've seen have played upwards of like 32 minutes, but he's averaging in the mid-20s minutes. So that's a lot of minutes to open up for DeLon Wright. Not sure if he gets a start. Yeah, really not sure on that because even though he's out there and he's averaging about 0.88 fantasy points per minute, he's not going to be necessarily needed to be running the point or anything because he's going to be next to Luka Doncic. So we could see his per minute point or his per minute production take a hit. But I think that he is a decent play, and I like him a bit more than Patty Mills and Bryn Forbes today. Although I do think that Bryn Forbes will probably get a couple extra minutes. I like him a lot more than Patty Mills for what it's worth. Murray or Kobe White. So, yeah, with Hutchison out, we've seen that Kobe White has been that direct backup to him. And I mean, he's been running hot, but if you look at his the times that he's in, he's running really, really high, and that's given him more time on the court. Now he's kind of forced to have more time on the court with no Otto Porter, no Hutchison. He's really the only guy that they could throw in there. But I have seen in just their last game that in the first half when the game was competitive against Milwaukee that they would play Ryan, Arcidiacono, Satoransky, and Chris Dunn on the court at the same time with no Kobe White. So there's an opportunity that happens. They start those three guys. Or they play those three guys a lot, and then Kobe White only gets a couple extra minutes. But we know that Kobe White, when he's out there on the court, that he's going to be shooting. Now, I expect his usage to take a bit of a dip playing it next to the starters if he does get the start. So I wouldn't expect that high of a usage, and he is kind of shooting reliant. So I think he's a decent play. I slightly prefer DeJounte Murray to him, though. I think his role is a bit more secure, and they play similar minutes. Luka tonight. Yeah, so that's the thing, man. I think that I want to play Luka tonight. I'm going to play a bunch of them, but if I'm playing one guy, I might find the money to get up to Giannis Antetokounmpo, who I have about 6 points higher projected-wise. I like Luka more than Harden straight up. But if I'm playing one lineup, I might try to get up to Giannis. It depends on the value that breaks, because we could get Jarrett Culver with if Okogie and Wiggins misses, and then Treveon Graham as well would be a great value play. So I think point per dollar, Luka is right there with Giannis. If you have the extra money, I would go up to Giannis over Luka, but I'm going to have a bunch of both of them. I'm definitely going to be overweight on both those guys tonight in tournaments. Korkmaz getting any runs tonight? Yeah, with Josh Richardson out, I would expect Korkmaz probably going to get the start. Zizic a good play or way too much of a gamble? So yeah, I was when Tristan Thompson was ruled out, I was assuming that Zizic might get the start, but then I forgot they're playing Miami, who their bigs are Bam Adebayo at the 5 is kind of undersized. I believe he's only 6'9". Larry Nance is 6'7", I believe. Kevin Love is 6'8". So I think that they start Larry Nance at the 5. Kevin Love, they seem to want to play him at the 4 as much as possible. And we go back to last year. Larry Nance is a lot better when he's playing at the 5 rather than the 4. And I think since last year, I was looking at Add More Fun, NBA Wowie, that it looked like he's averaging 1.01 fantasy points per minute playing next to Kevin Love when he's playing at the 5. So in a pace-up game, I expect him to play 30-plus minutes tonight. Yeah, I like Larry Nance quite a bit tonight. Don't know how you get away from him. Pascal for cash or Covington? Yeah, so I think that both those guys are in tougher matchups. But I think both of them play 30-plus minutes. I'm going to probably trust the usage rating of Eric Pascal a bit more than Robert Covington. Now that Jake Layman is out, though, Covington, his security in minutes are very secure, because we saw earlier in the season when Robert Covington was struggling, it was mostly due to Jake Layman stealing away those minutes at the 4. Now Layman's out, so obviously I think that Robert Covington has a lot more security in his minutes, but I still will take Pascal. I think he's a lot better fantasy producer, especially and they both have tough matches. Pascal against Mavericks, and then Covington versus Utah. But we just saw this matchup with Utah, and Covington performed fine. As it stands now, can you rank the value? I know Nance is probably the best so far. So, yeah, it's probably Nance. Then maybe DeLon Wright. The matchup's just way too good. I don't mind taking a shot on Ante Zizic in GPPs, because if he can get on the court, he's a pretty good fantasy producer. I'm curious to see how many minutes he gets. It's strictly GPP for me. And then we got to wait out for Jarrett Culver if Okogie misses. Opinions on Luka and a blowout tonight. Yeah, I don't really care about the blowout on that match, because especially if I'm playing the player on the team that's blowing the team out, because especially if it's a star player like that, like Luka Doncic, I mean, he's going to be the one who's going to be responsible for that blowout. And we've seen it time and time again. I mean, he's almost gotten triple doubles in a half. Like, he can get 60 points in 3 quarters. And that's not out of the realm of possibility. Same thing with Giannis Antetokounmpo. What do you think of Drummond under 9K on DK against Chicago and Westbrook under 9K? Yeah, so I think I prefer Drummond to those guys. I got to update the sheet after this. It's just the matchup is so good against Chicago. Obviously, all of his rates are probably going to go down playing next to Blake Griffin, who I think is a great play at 7.1K. But I do like Drummond a good bit, just given the matchup and stuff. And I believe he averages about 1.3 fantasy points per minute dating back to last year next to Blake Griffin. So, and he's playing mid to high 30s in minutes in competitive games. So, hard not to like him at that price. Culver solid if Okogie is out. Yes. Yeah. Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I think Jimmy Butler is a great play today, especially with Justice Winslow out. Murray or Wright. I mean, I like both those guys. I probably prefer Wright for the savings, because I think that DeLon Wright probably ends up playing 30 minutes tonight, 28 to 30 minutes. And those extra minutes at a significantly less price tag, I would prefer him to Murray. Unless we get word that DeJounte Murray is off a minutes limit, then obviously he'd be the best play on the slate. He had 38 in the first, yeah. I know, man. I'm sorry. Thoughts on Thomas Bryant on DK? Yeah, I like him more on FanDuel. I think he's definitely too cheap on DraftKings. I will say that, though. Taylor, do you like Chris for GBP tonight? He's not the worst play, especially if the game ends up blowing out. Like if you want to play the narrative that the game blows out, then he's going to get a ton of run. We see that they're so thin right now that they only played a 9-man rotation, even though they blew out the other team. They blew out the Grizzlies. So even if they get blown out, the starters and the backups are going to get run. We saw Chris got a bunch of run down the stretch last game. And I don't think that they want to play Willie Cauley-Stein a bunch of minutes just yet. Value play on FanDuel for a small forward that isn't Nance. Probably Torian Prince. Any Cooper's FanDuel love? No, not that much. Any strategy in holding off most players to the late games? Yeah, dude. If you guys were a member of ours last night, we made a couple of pivots that they didn't break necessarily how we wanted to, but it was a great night regardless. That Frank Kaminsky thing, I got him at 6% in GPPs, and because we directly pivoted to him off of Jackson Hayes for the most part. He ended up scoring, I believe, 3 points less than Jackson Hayes, but at 6% ownership compared to 50%, I'll take that all day. You like Wright or White better? Well, Derek White's out, so I would prefer Wright there. What do you think about George under 8K? Seems like we won't get for that cheap much longer. Well, looks like Kawhi Leonard is going to be back, so I don't think he's going to have nearly the usage that he was having. But I would imagine that they're going to stagger their minutes a bit. So his usage rate is still going to remain high. But also, I don't know how many minutes he's necessarily going to play. How many did he play last game against OKC? He played 29 minutes. So he's probably not on that high of a limit. He probably could get upwards of 32 minutes. So it's a tough matchup against Boston. Yeah, he's worth a shot in GPP, of course. It's Paul George under 8K. Jokic thoughts at 8.4K tonight. You like him for cash? I'm just not getting much of Jokic anymore. Hayes went bonkers at first half and was invisible in the second. I think that Hayes was a good play. I had like 40% of him, so I like matched the field. So I'm not saying that he was a bad play or I avoided him by any means, but I will say that he's not the most involved player on the team. He went off in the first quarter because he had like 5 blocks. He can do stuff like that, obviously, but that's not something you can really expect. And I thought that getting off of him to Kaminsky or Baines, whoever was starting, was a really sharp call. Unfortunately, at the end of the first half, they ended up going small, playing Sarge at the 5 rather than Kaminsky, and then they learned their lesson because they were getting blown out. Then they came back into the game in the second half when they went with a traditional center like Czech Diallo and Frank Kaminsky, and they started coming back, and that's when Kaminsky got most of his points. Best FanDuel center play tonight? Probably Thomas Bryant. I like Thomas Bryant a good bit. Andre Drummond. Dragic or Kobe White on FanDuel? I'll probably take Dragic there. Scott Taylor, what do you think about Blake Griffin and Kevin Love and Jared Allen? Yeah, so I think Blake Griffin ends up playing. We saw he played 30 minutes last game. It's been a while since they played their last game. He probably plays 30-plus minutes again. Good matchup, 7.1K, averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute. So, yeah, I like Blake Griffin a good bit today. I think he's solid for cash games. Same thing with Kevin Love. With no Tristan Thompson, you would expect. Kevin Love has had like an unreal rebounding rate this year. And with replacing Thompson with Larry Nance is only going to raise it, especially against an undersized front court with Bam Adebayo at the 5. So it's good rebounding matchup for him. I hate that his usage is so low this year. I don't really understand what's going on with all that, but I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So I think Kevin Love, I still like him at 7.4K. And I slightly prefer Blake Griffin, a bit of a better matchup. Quite a bit better matchup. So, and then Jared Allen, yeah. So, on a night-to-night basis, I don't really know where the minutes are going to go between him and DeAndre Jordan. It seems kind of sporadic with who gets like closing minutes and stuff like that. It does seem like, I will admit, it does seem like a Jared Allen game where I think that he would get the majority of the minutes, in which at that point I would like his price, but it sucks that he's only center eligible on DraftKings now. It was nice when he was power forward and center eligible, but I think he's a solid play. Burks or Prince on FanDuel? I'll take Burks. Is Blake Cash viable? Yes. Caleb or pay up for Giannis? Probably pay up for Giannis. I think that you should play either Luka Doncic or Giannis tonight. Griffin or Jokic? I'll take Griffin for the discount. Blake or Caleb, basically same price on DK. It's probably Blake. Bogdanovich or Covington. I'll take Covington. With no Layman, I think his minutes are a lot more secure. Tobias Harris, good play. I think he's solid. I mean, taking Josh Richardson off the court really is not that big of a boost to those guys. Thoughts on Devontae Graham? Yeah. So, I mean, him entering the starting lineup has obviously been a bad thing for Terry Rozier, but I mean, Devontae Graham's number really haven't changed all that much. I think that he's a great play, especially on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's still playable at 6.8K, I believe. I slightly prefer Terry Rozier at 6K for that slight savings, but I think Devontae Graham's a very solid play. Griffin or Capella? I'll take Griffin in cash, Capella in GPPs. You know, earlier in the season, Clint Capella was talking about how this injury was holding him back and stuff like that, and he wasn't getting the minutes because of it. But ever since that, he said that he was 100%, he come back. Dude, he has been amazing. Now, obviously, it's a bit of a tricky matchup against Denver, but since coming back from that injury, he's played 36, 42, 36, 32, 35 minutes a game, and he's averaging like 50 fantasy points per game. It's hard to not like him, and he's going to go virtually unowned today. So I think in that price range, a lot more people are going to go to Andre Drummond, and for the ownership, I might just go ahead and go with Clint Capella today. I think Clint is a very underrated play. Have we gotten news about Nance tonight? 5 or 4? Yeah, not yet. Not yet, but at his price, I think I will play him regardless. I would imagine they're going to play him at the 5, and I couldn't imagine him playing any less than 30 minutes. So I like him regardless. Who's going to be high owned in the 6 to 9K range? Probably Spencer Dinwiddie, Blake Griffin, Jimmy Butler, those guys. Seems like people playing all the way up. Yeah, I think that a lot of people are probably going to play either Giannis or Luka today. Will you pivot from Dinwiddie to Graham and GPP? Probably not. I like Dinwiddie way too much. Is Markkanen solid in cash at that price tag? Yeah, for sure. There's no Cornet. There's no Otto Porter. So it opens up minutes across the whole team. So I know that Gafford was getting backup center minutes last game, but I would imagine that on a normal basis, avoiding foul trouble, Lauri Markkanen is going to get some run at the 5, which is a great thing. And he's going to be playing mid-30s minutes as long as he's avoiding foul trouble. They're just way too thin right now. So at 5.4K on DraftKings, yeah, it's hard to get away from him. Pascal or Draymond? See, that's really tough for me. I mean, in cash games, I probably just got to give it to Draymond. And GBPs, I would heavily prefer Eric Pascal. I mean, his usage rating is just through the roof right now. 31.5% usage rating just last game. He was in severe foul trouble, and that's the reason why he ended up fouling out. So he only got 24 minutes. Draymond Green, I think he had – what did he have? Let me look. I think he had 11 assists on 12 assist opportunities. So, like, that's not going to happen on a normal basis. Alec Burks is really the facilitator out there. Alec Burks is the guy that you want on this Golden State team, and then Eric Pascal. Yeah, I think Draymond's still a fine play. They just haven't been raising his price. I know from your vid that you like Burks and Pascal, but do you still like Draymond? Yeah, I think Draymond's fine. Any Ntilikina love, or however you spell his name. And what about Graham? Yeah, I'm not really on Ntilikina. I mean, he's far from a fancy producer that I would want. Tori, let me go back and look at your question. Good value point guard on FanDuel. Yeah, so I'm not really high on Patty Mills on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, Patty Mills is 3.6K. So I like that a good bit. Let me look at the other value plays down here. See, it really could open up more minutes with Hutchison being out and Kobe White potentially entering the starting lineup. That's going to open up more minutes for the point guard position for Thomas Satoransky and Chris Dunn. So I think that they're fine plays, but Patty Mills at 3.6K is probably the better play right there. Any decent plays under 4K? Delon Wright's 4K. I mean, it's hard for me to get down there today. There's not any really strong value plays. Pick 2 for cash, Pascal, Covington, Markkanen. So Markkanen for sure. And then I'll probably take Pascal there. I think that their medium minute projections about the same, assuming the game stays relatively close. What kind of PC do you have? I don't know. I don't know. I got it from Best Buy. Any Jaylen Brown or Tatum love? No, not really. If Marcus Smart was out, I would like Jaylen Brown quite a bit tonight, but Levine or Graham? Graham for sure. I mean, see, I would trust Graham and cash and GVP. Levine is really sporadic this year. I mean, his career, he's a sporadic player. I don't mind Levine and GPPs, but it's just a weird matchup. Not that great of a matchup. Murray should see some more minutes tonight, shouldn't he? No, I mean, he's on a minutes limit, so he's probably playing no more than 24 minutes. I mean, he played 25 minutes last game, but I think that was more of a mistake than like they could get him off the court in time. But I don't think that he's going to be playing any more than 24 minutes. So Derek White has nothing to do with DeJounte Murray today. It's more so of buying low on him. On the season, he's averaging 1.17 fantasy points per minute in a huge pace-up game against Washington, who's the worst team in the league in terms of defensive rating, tied with the Golden State Warriors. And that's saying a lot how bad they are. So I think that he's a good buy low candidate. But I think people are on him for the wrong reason. Derek White has nothing to do with why he's a good play today. Thoughts on Derrick Rose and Mo Wagner? I'm not on really any of those. I mean, I will say that if you're playing Mo Wagner, that means you're not playing Thomas Bryant because they're only playing minutes at the 5, both those guys. And so the only reason – see, Mo's just been playing so well. He's been playing Bryant off the course. So I think that if Wagner struggles at all, he's only going to play like 16 minutes a game. Possibly less. Right over Murray and cash. I mean, yeah, for the savings, I prefer Delon Wright. Hey, no problem, man. Brunson or THJ getting some extra minutes with no Curry. See, I would not be the least bit surprised. I mean, first of all, I'd rather have Tim Hardaway Jr. just because Brunson is like really low upside. I mean, his floor is low as well, but same with him and Tim Hardaway both have really low floors, but Tim Hardaway has a lot higher ceiling. Would not be surprised if Tim Hardaway entered the starting lineup and they kept Delon Wright off the bench, which would be fine with me. But so yeah, I like TSJ more. So you like Murray? Yeah, I think in a vac. Yeah, Murray's not bad. I would trust him in cash game. He's going to be popular. But something in GPPs I would definitely be underweight on, depending on the ownership. Just because I think him only playing 24 minutes, it really limits his upside. Now, we saw earlier in this season that he was putting up like 40, 45 in these limited minutes. So, and this is a matchup that he could do that in. Okay, I hate to ask, but did you answer my question? And I went dumb and missed it. What question you asked, Tori? Should I get a low-value center and work up Giannis or keep Drummond and just have Prince and Nance for FanDuel? I think on FanDuel and DraftKings, you play one of Luka and Giannis. You got to play one of them. I think that the value is decent enough to get up to one of them, not both as of now, but I think that's the general route that you go today. And I'll talk about it a bit later in the private live stream if you guys are members. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. Sorry this was on YouTube rather than Twitch. If you guys haven't subscribed already, would really, really appreciate that if you guys could do that. If you guys want to join the team, sharpsportsnetwork.com. Got to update the sheets right after this, and then I will be streaming privately 30 minutes before lock, as always, as my cam goes blurry. All right, guys. Best of luck today, and until next time, peace.